Yeah, so I put a camera out like today is Saturday, so if Friday probably went Tuesday night, Tuesday maybe.
Mhm.
It was one of these days it was raining, so I was like, oh, I should get my trail cameras out. So I put one. Um it was an old one that I've had forever that hasn't been great and the antenna broke. So I threw it out and like, man, I'm like, man, I'm not, I threw it out there and it started sending me pictures at first, these little does going by. I'm like, oh, cool. And all of a sudden the battery, or not the battery, the reception percentage went like to 0. I'm like, what the heck, you know? And I figured, oh, it's because of the antenna. I'll go out, grab it. I'll swap out another one of my old ones that has an antenna, and I'll throw the one that I have in a closer spot that I know definitely has service. So I go do that. And this is one you have to pay for the subscription to get like a couple hundred photos or whatever. So I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I'll do 250 for this broken one. I finally get service, and I just start getting piles of pictures, right?
Yeah, dude.
Piles of pictures. 250 came in. I'm like, holy crap! And so that for the first 2 nights I put it out, this bachelor group of $4 come out. $2 are smaller, and I would say they're smaller, but they're 120. They score probably a 120. They're like good bucks.
12 at 120, so maybe like a 1.
Yeah. One, okay, we'll call them 110, be conservative, but they're ones that you'd see and you'd be like, I'd probably shoot that deer, right? But they're with deer that are huge.
Big.
Like two, I mean, huge bucks. The biggest one is the biggest buck I have ever had, like by far on camera. It's got,
I would
mean,
agree with that. That is a big buck.
that brow tine that like kind of vines, it kind of vines around, and he's got
you call 'em vines.
vines. That might be his name. Yeah, he's got like a little junk up off his brow tines. He's got viney brow tines, and he's got at least 10 points, like 10 main points
Easily.
you know. So I'm looking at him, I'm thinking
trash.
Yeah, he's got trash. Like, that'll make him a Michigan 12 at least.
Yes.
And the other one's like more clean, 10 point. So like two tens and these two probably 8-point bucks that are just cruising around. And they hung out. I got a good picture of that big one at night. And I actually got a great series of pictures because I did like 3 burst photos. And that second biggest buck was rubbing antlers already, even though he still's velvet. I think he was more rubbing his forehead on this branch like they do. I think he's just giving off some, yeah. I mean, he's giving off his scent gland or whatever, and you can see him kind of like doing the thing. But it was like a cool picture. You know, they just kind of like
just get into
kind of rubbing
like
all in
itching
there.
Something real nice. And you just
oh,
this is better than sex. What's up? We are going to thank a few of these sponsors that help make this beautiful show a reality for all of you. So here we go. So a big reason, I would say, to why we're so successful and we have so many bucks on the wall is because we use HuntWise. HuntWise is a GPS mapping app that you can download on any phone, any platform. You can look up public land huntings, ORV trails. You can get the weather. They actually have a HuntCast 2.0 that they teamed up with Jeff Sturgis to make. It's awesome. You need to check this thing out. Go to HuntWise, download the app.
I feel like if you go into the woods without optics, it's like going into the woods without pants on. Would you agree with that?
To a point.
To a point. We are huge fans of running binoculars, spotting scopes, and different things when we hunt, even whitetail. I bring binoculars out every time I go. We choose Vortex Optics because they make the best glass in the business. They have an amazing warranty, super clear glass, super helpful people that work there.
Also, if you want to rep some sweet Vortex swag like this warm shirt on a nice fall day, head over to Vortex Wear. Thank you. And use the promo code TFC20 for 20% off your purchase. Saddle game, you need to be in it. If you haven't been in it yet, then you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
Trophy Line Tree Sales makes some of the best saddles in the industry. They have 3 different platforms that we use and that are awesome.
I want to make a quick plug for the Wingman with a couple steps. You can take one less stick, and it's like a combination of a stick and a platform. I've been exclusively hunting out of it this year, and my mobile setup is so sweet. I'm very proud of it.
Awesome.
I highly recommend the Wingman system.
If you're ready to pull the trigger on that and you want to get with James and do the Wingman, head over to the website and you can save yourself 10% on the purchase. TFC 10 will get you that. I like to think I single-handedly got James to switch to compound again, but I'd probably be a liar, and everyone would call me out on that. We shoot prime bows. We think they're awesome. Great accuracy, super shootable.
Made here in Michigan.
Made in Michigan, so we love that. It's hard to complain.
That's where Jared was made. So
surprisingly,
we like that. Yeah.
Welcome. So go check out these prime bows.
We are of a firm belief that the arrow is the lifeblood of the archery industry. We've said it 1,000 times. But in all seriousness, we are huge fans of arrows that are durable, that fly well, and that kind of make up for some of my inaccuracies in the way that I shoot. So we shoot Vector custom arrows.
The hammer.
The hammer.
That's Thor.
They are made in Wisconsin by our buddy Isaac. Great arrows. And if you want to go and get yourself some, have a little bit of a discount, use TFC10 for 10% off. Or call Isaac up and tell him we sent you.
Mm-hmm. You want his phone number? Comment below.
Yep, comment below.
So I got.
By the way, if you've never itched poison ivy with like a pumice rub, holy cow!
It feels so good and then
I
bad.
Sit down and cry. It feels so good.
Yeah, and then it feels bad.
And then or burning hot water. You ever done that? Stick it under just burning hot water.
Just burn the piss out of it.
Oh my gosh, it is.
It feels good.
It feels so good. It
Really?
just like kills the itch right away. Anyway. Great feeling.
Yeah, so I put out that camera, and then I threw out the other. I swapped them out because I wasn't getting service. And still that night that I put them out, that those bucks showed up again and in the morning. So I'm in that time of year right now where it's like, now that I've got 2 out, and I'll probably put a few more out. You and I should probably go pick up some of those Tacticam reveals. I look forward to, I'm pulling it up right now. Do I have any pictures since I've checked my phone in the last, you know what I'm saying? It's a good time of year. It's very exciting.
Wait, do I have access to the app under your credentials? So
of course.
I can just get those photos too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll give you both I think you should have them.
You named it the Jimmy Cam, right?
One is the Jimmy Cam.
Right,
one is.
I always named mine the Rod Cam.
Rod Cam. And then there's one called TFC Discovery. I thought that was it sounded like a very space name, like the TFC Discovery. You know,
the Endeavor.
Yeah, that's a good one. That might be our next camera name.
TFC Endeavor, the Liberty.
You still have
what was the Armageddon ships? Freedom and Independence. Yes.
Is it? I was gonna say the Nina Pinta de Santa Maria.
No, we're not Christopher Columbus.
Although
I do like that. That's
not bad.
That's not bad.
Do you have your rod cam still? Where's that puppy?
Like 3 feet away from me.
Is that
on the shelves?
A cell cam?
No. Oh, that one? That's in the trash.
That was a crappy camera.
It would take pictures. It just would never send them. And the customer service of them
was horrible. I know the company, and it's so bad. That was the same company as the old one I was dealing with when I all of a sudden didn't have reception. But the Tacticam ones, the reveals are sick.
It's the thing with trail cameras is everyone has bad experience with one brand.
Yeah,
and
it ruins it.
And they dog on them, but like other people, are like, oh, it's the best brand I've ever said.
Yeah,
like
those people are wrong.
You're dead wrong.
We've used it.
In my book.
The Rod Cam. We've had such high hopes for that in the past. We've put it out and it's
failed.
Not good. Yeah.
Although we didn't really have service, not the best service. So I guess it didn't really.
It might be better now. Either way, we should go and fuel up on cameras because it's almost. I mean, when this goes out, will it be just September already? Let's see. I think it will be. So, anyways. It's time for us to keep this moving because we got pictures to take. And what I like about the cell cams is it just helps you make the most of a hunt because it's like I know that there are deer coming in this spot or not. So sometimes sometimes the fun is just going out and like reading the sign, doing that thing. And that's our favorite way. But sometimes it's like I've got an afternoon one time this week. I mean, where am I seeing some action on? You know, we don't put out 100 cameras or anything. We'll probably put out like 6, 7. But it does help you like, all right, this spot's, it's looking good. We'll go hit that spot. So,
I mean, some people argue that is too much technology in the woods and that the hunting industry needs to back off, more or less plotting out deer exactly where they're moving. And
yeah, I would agree. Like, I don't really like to know the deer. I don't know why. I get it why you would.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is. And I'll do it. Like, I'm doing it, but it's more fun to just go out in a spot and like kind of see sign and see like, oh, there is a buck out here. Let's go find him. Right. I've had fun doing that in the past. That's all that to say. Doesn't mean usually you shoot great monster big old bucks though. When you're just, playing the sign and going brand new into an area, but it's a lot of fun. So speaking of that, Jared,
I was going to say, you just came back. And to be honest, I've heard bits and pieces of this trip, but I haven't heard the whole digression. Is that
we'll call it the whole
caboodle, the whole
kit and caboodle.
So James, you just went to Alaska to do a DIY caribou hunt.
Yeah. We like to do the DIY. It's always fun.
It was great because you were able to bring along your family too.
Yep.
And that's about all I know.
Yeah. So
I want you to start at the beginning. How did you go into thinking of this idea and then planning for it? Because I'm sure some guys are going to want to know, like, well, where the heck do you start? To go into this, but just start there.
Okay. I've got some things, I've been thinking about this. We haven't recorded a podcast in a few weeks. And so, yeah, I haven't told you much.
You haven't told me hardly anything.
Because I'm excited to do it on this podcast.
You were texting pictures and
there's some good pictures.
We've been saving this for.
So the big thing was I wanted to take my family. I wanted to do it yourself. And so how do you get into it? I mean, this started probably 5 years ago. My daughter was almost maybe 4 turning 5, something like that, or maybe 3 turning 4. Anyways, we started camping, my family and I. So we started semi-small, and by small, I mean, we live in Michigan. We would go to like North Dakota, South Dakota, like the Badlands, do some of that Teddy Roosevelt Park. And we started every year, like getting way more deep into camping. Right. So on average, the last 3 or 4 or 5 years has been at least a month in a tent at some point. Usually we'll do like 2-3 weeks consecutive, and then you get like the weekends here and there. We decided we like it. We want our daughter to be into outdoors, into animals, and being, away from technology and actually hunting too. So we started camping. We built it up. We did everything from Nova Scotia to the Badlands to Yellowstone to the Pacific Northwest. I mean, the Southwest. We've camped all over, like more than half of the national parks. It's been cool. So the big dream of mine was like, all right, these are great, and there's some other things that I want to hit in the continental United States, but I want to get out to Alaska. Our next 2 were always Alaska and Newfoundland. Looks like Newfoundland's next year. Alaska was this year, just because Canada is a little difficult when it comes to COVID regulations, but we won't get into that. Buddy. So
not your guy, friend.
So yeah, hey buddy, with your big head talking like a. So anyway, so we started planning. I realized, and a lot of you who have listened to our podcast will know we've talked to Joe Griffin and a few other guys that have done the Dalton Highway hunts. And they're like, this is sweet. It's do it yourself. You guys could totally do it.
Time out.
Yeah.
What's the haul road?
Oh, that's a good call. So the Dalton Highway hunt is like the most DIY caribou hunt that you're going to do in Alaska. And that's because
I said the haul road. Is the Dalton Highway different?
Same thing.
Same
different,
thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been telling people you've been hunting the haul road.
Yeah. The haul road, the ice road, trucker road. That's the one that they do.
Dalton Highway. So those are the two.
Officially the name.
They're the same thing.
Yeah. Same thing.
Okay.
So the idea is the Dalton Highway, the haul road, is a highway that goes from Coldfoot, or really kind of just north of Fairbanks. You go up the Elliott Highway to the Dalton Highway, and then you go all the way up basically to what's called Prudhoe Bay or Dead Horse. And up there is basically ice. It's oil fields that go into the Arctic, like the Arctic Ocean is at the top. So sure. The plan was we drive it, we hunt caribou on 5 miles of either side of the road. You could bow hunt only, and past that is gun hunting too. So that was a plan. We took 2 weeks. We spent the first week, we flew into Anchorage and actually went south to the Kenai Peninsula area. So we got, we flew there, camped down there for a while. We did some we did a 7.5 hour fjord tour. So you go like in and out of where these glaciers are just carving cliffs, and it's like that actually was probably the highlight of the entire trip, driving that or boating that. It was like an all day thing.
Yeah,
saw whales.
The one cool thing you told us the other day about what happened was it the boat? Yeah, it was a boat. What they make from the glacier?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we're going. We're seeing whales. We're seeing like otters eating. We saw an otter eating a squid, which the guy's like never seen. It was all these cool things, right? Seeing puffins. Finished my puffin tour. Yeah, I'd watch you. We finished the puffin tour. My family we somehow, as we've gotten into camping, we've wanted to learn, like, you're like, oh, what bird is that, for whatever reason. And so we've been getting bird books and became kind of bird people. I don't know how, like, it's kind of weird, I know, but it's like, it's a family thing. It's been really fun to do. But one of it was like, as a kid, for whatever reason, I like love puffins. Like, puffins are so cool. They're kind of like, so I'm like, all right, there are 3 types of puffins in the world, right? There's the Atlantic, the tufted, and the horned. Horned.
Uh-oh, you should know this, dude.
Anyways, so I had seen 2 of the 3, and I hadn't seen the tufted, the horned. Anyways, I hadn't seen one, and it's one that has eyes that have looks like they have eyelashes, black eyelashes. They're only kind of in the Alaska area. We ended up seeing them. So anyways, this is a long way of saying we got to the glacier, that is the Harding ice field, and the glacier that's coming down into the ocean. And you're going past all these chunks, chunks of floating ice, like as big as a car or as big as me, or and there's smaller ones too.
By the way, you are right. The Atlantic, the horned, and the tufted.
Good. I was gonna say, I don't know why I doubted. I got shook.
Atlantic are probably my favorite.
The Atlantic, yeah, that's what we saw. We saw yep, exactly. We saw those in Nova Scotia. Those are our first puffins when we went far east and north. But anyway, so you get there, these ice chunks are floating, and the people on the boat would catch them in nets, and then they take them on the boat. I got a picture of me holding one. And they shave off the ice, and they make margaritas out of them, so you can have glacier margaritas. It was cool. It was a cool trip. So, anyways, that was we did that stuff down there. We did this hike up to our Harding ice field. That was trying for the family. It was a 9-mile hike, 3,200 feet of elevation, like a good hike, And of course, like, I always say this to the girls, but if there's any issues in your family, unresolved issues, if you go on like a really long hike, like it all comes out. Like, everybody's tired, and of course that happened. You deal with it, you move on. You get to the top, and it's like you basically see the peaks of mountains, but it's still covered in snow. So you just see a little triangles like poking out of snow all around you. And then it comes down to this glacier that's bright blue, like just like a brilliant blue. It was the coolest thing. So we did that kind of stuff. We went to Denali. We looked Denali National Park. We looked for Denali, which, in my opinion, and you guys can look this up later, is the tallest mountain in the world. It's a bold statement. I know everybody talks about Everest, but they have the benefit of the Tibetan Peninsula, which gives it way more. Anyways, Google it, you'll see. And it's like, anyways, we saw Denali. We did all these cool stuff, and finally basically picked up my brother and thought, hey, it's time for us to head north. My brother met us after a week. He flew in, and we were in the bed of a pickup truck sleeping that night in a Cabela's parking lot. So he lands his plane at like 1 in the morning, Alaska time. And the Uber driver drives him to Cabela's and drops him off, and he just climbs in the back of the truck and goes to sleep that night. So that whole time we had rented a F-350 from a place called Go North. We had looked into doing like the Haul Road Hunt or like Avis or anything like that. Haul Road Hunt. Holy cow, U-Haul. U-Haul would have worked, but it didn't have enough seats, and like Avis or any of those car rentals don't let you drive their truck or their cars or whatever on the Dalton Highway, because it's a pretty brutal road. So go North, we get this giant truck, and we just head north.
350, nice.
Yeah, dude. I am for a while I've been thinking, once my current truck dies, my current truck is a Honda CRV. Yeah, once that dies, I was gonna get like a smaller pickup truck, but I think like screw that. I'm just getting a giant truck that we can. My whole family slept in it for like a week and a half.
You gonna get a diesel?
I don't know. Do I want a diesel?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you don't have to haul anything, but
I don't need to haul anything, but it would be nice to just have a giant ass truck.
Why?
Because I could sleep in it. I could like.
Are you talking like a crew cab?
I definitely need 4 doors for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. I want to be able to lay on the bed. Two guys to lay on the bed.
So
you know what I'm saying?
So a standard bed.
Yeah, standards.
Mine's a short bed.
I like a set. What was it? 7.5, 7 foot bed.
Holy cow!
I want a big truck, man. Like if I'm getting a truck, like why would I? I'm not monkeying around. Anyway, so we had this truck, and we picked him up and we're like, all right, we're gonna go north, right? Trying to think if I'm skipping anything that I should be telling you about. I don't think so.
You're prepping out. You're building.
So the idea is you
punched out
drive
the 350.
Yep, you punch out from Anchorage, you drive to Fairbanks. We kind of
how far of a trek is that?
A couple hours.
Okay.
I forgot 3 hours. It all runs. Time is weird there because first of all, we're in Eastern time here, but you go to Alaska and it's 4 hours behind. And then the sun never sets. So it's like, I never know what time, like there's never an end.
So weird. You said it just kind of like,
yeah, just kind of circles.
Halos around you almost, right?
Yeah, when you get north, it's way worse than like Anchorage. Especially at the tail end of our trip, it was getting kind of dark at night, but like it was never dark. You know, There was actually one point when we were up pretty far north and it had rained and then it dropped to like 20 degrees. It was like ice raining and I woke up at like 3 a.m. and I had to poop like bad. And I'm like, there's no holding it. There's no waiting. Like I have to get out of the pickup truck and go squat in the tundra in the rain.
4 words will ruin a hunting trip?
Yeah.
I have to poop.
Yeah. And so I'm like, so anyways, yeah, I mean, that was, it was wild. So, but when I did that, it was still light out. It was bizarre. So anyways, we went through Fairbanks and you go from Fairbanks, you drive a long way. Like I said, Elliott Highway to the Dalton Highway. It's I think from Anchorage all the way to Prudhoe Bay, it's like an 18-hour car difference. It's a lot of driving. I
hate driving, man.
You were just saying that, like, to do this hunt, you have to, like, unless you fly into Fairbanks, you'll save yourself some time. But because we went south first, we went to Anchorage, and you just have to drive. Like, it's just part of this hunt. And so, like I said, we drive up. You stop in Coldfoot, which is like the last camp until all the way to Prudhoe Bay, which is hundreds of miles north. I think 6-7 hours to the top. And so we stopped there, and it was like, it's just, I'll post pictures in the next couple weeks, but it is like the wildest gas station cafe.
It looked like they had like plywood doors everywhere.
Oh yeah. It looked rustic. Like it rustic. It had been rode hard and put away wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys are loading up on beef jerky and Mountain Dews.
Yeah, you load up on whatever they can make. Like I can't eat any of it, but I had brought a bunch of my food. And my brother, who can eat it, he just loaded up on like burgers and everything else. Although I heard the Coldfoot burgers are crap. Hopefully they're not listening to this. They don't hear me say this, but I didn't eat it. I don't care. Jake said they were dry. And somebody else we met along the trip.
Dry burger, man.
Oh, a couple people that said it too. They're like a dry burger. Might as well just throw that away. Like that's just a garbage burger. I'd rather have it not really cooked on the inside
than dry.
Yeah.
So overcooked, dry.
But it's protein, and I'm like so he's funny. My brother's like, he's never done this before, any of these types of hunts, and like he jumps right into Alaska. No, actually he did. He did one hunt with me in Colorado. But anyways, I'm like, hey, you got to get some, freeze-dried meals. You need to get, carbs, protein, fat. You need to, get some salt in you. Just kind of going through the thing. Well, he doesn't eat vegetables. He doesn't really even mostly eat fruit. He really literally for like 3-4 years, he only ate meat, like nothing else. And so he's like, shows up. It's crazy, but I don't know. It's a thing. What was that, Liver King? He likes Liver King. You ever hear this guy? The guy is 100% on steroids.
Yeah.
But he also eats a ton of liver raw, but whatever. So Jake shows up with just jerky, tallow, like a big tub of beef tallow to dip his jerky in. He's got just not much. So I'm like, all right, but I'll give it to him. He did fine. Like once we stopped in Prudhoe Bay at the top, we get him food, whatever. But so all that to say, we stop in Coldfoot, get some gas. At that point, it was $7 a gallon. when we got to the top to Prudhoe Bay, I filled up that truck, and I had 2, 5, and 10. I had 10 total gallons of like spare gas that we had with us in case we needed it. That was $230. $250, 30 between 230 250 for the fill up, which was insane.
Welcome to the truck game.
Yeah, dude. And so it was a lot. That was a big expense of the trip. The truck in general, the truck rental was very expensive, and the other expensive part was gas. The rest of it was pretty cheap. So all I have to say,
how many tanks does it take to? I guess you could probably calculate that out, but
yeah, I think it was. Once we filled up in Coldfoot, we had that tank of gas until we made it all the way up to Prudhoe Bay. So you start Coldfoot south, and it's like that dictates what you do in a day. How many more gallons you have to have enough miles left to get all the way north. And so we would do a lot of driving up and down the river, but always leaving a couple hundred miles left because we had to go all the way north. We hung around south on the highway for a lot of the time.
Gotcha.
So,
that would be tricky.
It is. I mean, you just have to be kind of conscious of it. And you always like overestimate by like 7,500 miles, like to give yourself a really good buffer, like, so we did that, and we never had a problem. It was just something we always had to keep an eye on. But we started in Coldfoot and then started cruising up. And so you drive and you come up to what's called the Adigan Pass, the Atigun Adigan Pass. And what was wild about it was like, so it's August, we're all excited about this hunt, and it's like, I've never been here before. It basically, you go over the pass and you're like hunting. So we drive up to the pass, we're going up, and like a magical moment, it starts to like pour snow. I'm like, this is I'm in Alaska, it's snowing on me, and I'm headed to bow hunt. Like, this is the coolest moment, ever. This is what you dream of as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So driving up north, I stopped at the top, took my bow out. I had bought a cheap target from Cabela's, I think, or Sportsman Warehouse. Anyways, shot, everything seemed dialed in. I was excited and ready to go. So we make it over the pass, which is like one of the more beautiful places you'll ever see. Like, Google pictures of the Adigan Pass and you'll see awesome place. And you come down and you're kind of in caribou country. Like, the farther away you get from the mountains, you become like totally in the tundra. So of course, like, we get right over the mountains, we see a shed laying there, and like, holy cow, we see a shed. Like, well, this is awesome. No one probably ever sees, like, we're so smart, we could see this shed. Well, like, throughout the week, we found like half a dozen sheds at least. Like, they were everywhere. I could have taken a lot more. I took some home the girls wanted them, and I gave one to my dog. But anyway, so we're like, oh, this is sweet. This is so sweet. So we're driving. We only get over the pass and kind of down through maybe within the first hour, all of a sudden Laura, who my wife has done a lot of this kind of stuff with me, and in the course of time has an excellent game eye. Like, she has an eagle eye. So does Dee. Like, I'm pretty proud of how they can spot stuff. So I'm driving, or maybe Jake's driving at that point. Yeah, Jake's took over for like most of the week. He was the driver and I was like the hunter. So I was driving around holding my bow for like, I literally would hold my bow even in the car so long at night. My forearms are just sore because I'm like carrying my bow everywhere I went. But she's like, hey, there's caribou right there. So I'm like, look at Jake. I'm like, well, I have no idea what I'm doing, like how stalking works on a caribou. You can read everything you want online about how, they're curious and they're wary, but they never stop moving. But you can, all these people say all these things about them, but it's like, I have to just go out and like mix it up with them for a while. So we go out, and I'll never forget, like, we walk up, I see all these caribou, and I look at Jake, I'm like, this is insane. There are so many caribou standing right there. There's probably 15, right? And it was mostly cows, calves, and like some smaller bulls, which we saw a lot of groups like that. But at that point, I'm like, I don't care. If I could right now go shoot a caribou, our plan was, if we tag out early, we're driving all the way down to the Kenai, getting on a charter boat and doing some salmon fishing. Like, we're going to get as much meat as we can if we can make this happen, but hunting is a priority. So we stock up. And of course, like I get that one, I probably got it to 150 yards, 120 maybe. And they picked me off. I didn't go in too sneaky. I was just like, how much can I get away with? This seems so like, it's so early on. I'll do that. So I bump them off and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting a feel for them a little bit, what they're looking for, what's easier to stalk. As I did that, I came across a few others and I started stalking on them. And, I did that for maybe a half an hour or so, getting on just different groups of caribou. And like I said, seeing what works and what doesn't. So my brother's with me. We kind of get in, maybe it was probably more than maybe an hour of doing that. We had kind of like close calls already with a bunch. I actually got to 24 yards to a what I thought was a small bull, and it turned out to be a cow. But it was like right there.
Surprise.
Surprise. No, the key for if you're willing to take any legal bull is you look for the sheath, which is what's covering the pecker. And like sometimes when they're really young, it's kind of back and it's really hard to see. So like, I'm pretty sure I passed 2 that I could have shot that I just wasn't sure. You know what I'm saying? Like I just didn't know and thought I saw the balls, but you couldn't see the sheath. And that was what they said to look for. And I just didn't want to do anything wrong. So whatever. So anyways, we're doing that. And all of a sudden I see, I'm like, oh, all right, let's start heading back. And I look to my left and I see a group of like 4 good bulls, like 2 are really good bulls. I'm like, all right, they're kind of coming this way. So I'm like, Jake, we're going to run around behind this little berm, I guess you could call it, like a little bump, and like kind of cut them off. And one thing I should say for caribou hunting, what makes it tricky in the tundra is there's no land features. There's no like, I'm going to, follow this tree line in. There's no trees. There's like flat. It's like the desert flat. And so anytime you can find any kind of creek or little hill to work behind, that's what we did. So we do it, we set up, and it was like, I'm like, Jake, I guess, we come all the way out here, but we're going to hunt them like deer and basically just ambush them here right by this rock outcropping. Because basically you're going in the tundra, it's flat, but you'll find these giant chunks of like 100 yards of just rock piles because glaciers had pushed these piles of rocks all together into these little spots. So I'm like, all right, we're going to go here. We'll wait for them to come around. And sure enough, they start coming. And they're headed right toward us. And all of a sudden they bed down and they kind of facing like they're taking it a different direction. I'm like, oh crap, what the heck? So we wait. And finally I'm like, Jake, I'm going to try to they're kind of looking, if I'm looking straight ahead as my 12 o'clock, they're about at my 1 o'clock and they're looking that way towards the 1 o'clock. I'm like, if I can kind of sneak around and just hang in their blind spot, I can probably get close. So I try, I make, probably there at that point they were probably 200 yards away, and I probably closed maybe 40 yards of distance, and then the big bull picks me off and they take off. So like the first hunt was like that, like instantly in him. I'm looking at Jake, I'm like, this is crazy. I've never we've been out here maybe at this point 2 hours and I've had half a dozen chances, and like I'm not even being very careful, I'm just trying. So I'm like, this is crazy. So that first night we see a couple more down the road and we make a play. We almost I ended up using a creek to sneak in on one. And that was one that I could have shot at maybe 50 yards, but I could not tell if it was definitively that it was a bull. I was pretty sure, but I'm new. Like I had no one with me that had ever done any of this before. Jake, my brother, was with me, but he doesn't even hunt that much. Like he'll deer hunt a couple times a year. So I'm like, all right, we're just going to play it safe and we'll see. So we let it off. We take that off. And so for the next couple of days, that's what we do. Like the next day we decide to get up and punch out. Cause like I said, basically you get a 5-mile radius on either side of the road where bow hunting only, beyond that's gun hunting. And what I've heard, and I actually found out to be true, is that you get maybe 2 miles out into the tundra, they're way less wary and they're way more curious. It's bizarre. And I'll talk about that in a second, but I want to point out, like, walking in the tundra is not like, it looks flat, but walking it wears you out, because it is like, it's like thinking of think of sand, but like little mounds in the sand, and then cover it with moss and kind of make it wet. So it's just kind of like uneven. Jared, you would know, we've actually been in swamps like this in Michigan.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's just kind of like uneven and you can't really walk and you have to pick up your leg and it just wears you out. So we're like, all right, we're going to do this. There's not a whole lot of people walking far out. And at that point we had seen the night before when we first got in a bunch of caribou, probably at least 100 combined. we're going to walk farther out and see what happens. So we're walking out, and like, as we're walking, all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, Jake, look right next to us. There's a cow right there. And so all we would do is like, we'd see it maybe 100 yards away, and we'd just sit down, and it'd see us, and it'd be like looking at us like, what the heck? And I had this little, actually your face on my,
what's up, dude?
I had that beanie that has you making a turkey call that says, who cooks for you?
Yes.
You know, so I had to bring you with me.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, it's a little bit like of a lighter color. And I was reading that if you wave a little something white, they'll see it. Or if you have any white on your clothes, they'll see it and they'll look at you like, what the heck? And they'll want to see it and check it out. Because I think they think it's a caribou. So I had 4 or 5 times where I did that. And a caribou came like I said, within 30 yards, like they came right up to you and just checking you out. I'll say I had one that I think was a bull. I actually looked back on that Jake took a video of it. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was actually a bull. But like I said, I didn't know for sure. I didn't want to do the wrong thing and whatever. So we did that the first day, and we got into a bunch of them, almost shot a bull. And I learned a valuable lesson so I see this bull, he's not even paying attention. And between me and him, he's like 40 yards beyond this big rock. Like I said, these rock areas, just with a ton of rock. And I thought, maybe I'll like try to sneak up on the rock. I can be quiet and hide behind these little, like, they're like torso size and smaller rocks in there. And I learned I should have gone around. I should have snuck around the edge of it, but I tried to go through for whatever stupid reason. Like, in retrospect, what a stupid idea. I don't know why I did it.
Shortcut.
Yeah. Shortcut right to the middle. And like, he got me.
Was it just hard to walk over the rocks, or you just couldn't maneuver? Or?
It was really hard because they're really like, some of them move and you're trying to be quiet, and you can't really set your bow down to like crawl or anything because it's like on rocks.
So no matter what, the tundra was sucked and the rocks sucked.
It all sucked to walk on. You know what though? I will say people make a big, like, just be in good shape when you go out. Like, people make a big deal about it. And yeah, you'll be like sore, and it's not like walking through an open field.
Like more of a stability muscles.
Yeah, I got sore right where my hips from having to lift my legs up so high.
Yeah, that's that's the psoas.
Ooh, yeah, in the back and the front too. Whatever that is. So those things got sore, but like everybody says, oh, it's the worst. It's just like, it's not super easy. So it's like, just get over it. It's not that big of a deal. It's just like the reality of it. So that day, interesting thing happens. On our way out to do this, I see these 2 guys come out. There's a lesson in this. So like, if you're listening to this and you're like wanting to do this hunt, write this down.
I'm about to.
I look, and this one dude is coming out, and I see he's trailed by another older guy. I'm not going to say fat. He's totally fat. Like, even by today's standards, he's a big feller, like not in good shape. And so I see the younger guy, he's talking to me and my brother Jake for a while, and he's from the Army. He's coming out. He's going to do this hunt. They're going 5 miles back in. And I look behind him. I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah, that's my uncle. And he's the dude is walking out. And like, bear in mind, Jake and I have spent a lot of time getting our gear set for this, right? Like, you want light, you want stuff that stays dry. So I got these crispy boots. I got the Stone Glacier gaiters. I've got like all this stuff that keeps you comfortable and moving, pulling moisture away, keeping the warmth in, because like, it rains every day. The temperature was everywhere between, one day it was in the 60s, one day it was in the 20s. It's either foggy or it can be anything. So like, we spent all this time, and I look at this dude walking out, and he's wearing big Carhartt bibs.
Awesome.
And he's got a big cotton sweatshirt underneath, and he's wearing muck boots. And my first thought was, he's just a crazy Alaskan. And like, Alaskans are like
backyard for him.
They're different. Like, these people live in like this place, and they just can do things that like the normal man cannot, right? They're just Alaskans. So I see him, I'm like, maybe he's just an Alaskan dude, and this is how he lives life. But like, that seems like a far walk to go with that gear on. Whatever, say goodbye to him. Like I said, did my hunt, saw those caribou. Well, that night, Jake and I had done a hunt. We actually hunted a couple times, trying to catch caribou running across the road, which didn't work. And I'll tell you why in a minute. And I'm walking back to the truck. It's probably 11 o'clock Alaska time, calling it a day. And I see this guy driving up on a truck. He waves me down up and down the road. And so I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, hey, have you seen? And he describes those 2 dudes I saw. I'm like, no, yeah, I have. They told me they're going 5 miles back. I mean, It takes a while to get out there. They seem to think that maybe they'd be sleeping there overnight. I don't know. They had sleeping bags, but the guy was looking for them because he said they'd come back. It was like a weird story, and it didn't totally make sense to me. But I was like, hey, if I see him, I'll let you know, right? And so that night we had parked the truck on this kind of turnout where quite a few trucks were parked, because this was a spot where over the course of the week I saw like probably at least 1,500 caribou cross in this area, just moving back and forth. It was just insane how many I saw. And so I get in the truck and I see this guy's truck is there and he's sitting in the driver's seat waiting. I'm like, oh, I feel bad. You pray for him at night. You're just like, that would be the worst night. You're worried about your brother and your son. And so turns out the next morning I wake up, it's actually my birthday, and I'm like, I'm going to glass for a caribou. And I look and that guy's still there and he's still awake. He was up all night waiting. I'm like, oh man, feeling bad. And I look and I hear a little boom, 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 boom. And over their horizon to where those dudes were comes the medevac, like the helicopter. Right. I'm like, holy cow. I wonder, because there are helicopters that you'll see running back and forth carrying things from Coldfoot or whatever to Prudhoe Bay. And I'm like, maybe it's that. No, it's that. He comes and sure enough, he lands right next to our truck. So I don't know what's going on. I'm like, oh, but it looks like they're struggling. I'll run out and help them unload. So I just run out there and I'm helping these guys grab sleeping bags and backpacks. I'm carrying all this stuff. And sure enough, it's those two guys. And the guy with the wrong gear had apparently hurt his hip somehow. His hip hurt. And he just was like, I can't make it back. So they pushed the button, the SOS button on your Garmin inReach. And they're like, I'm heading home. And so they got a very expensive helicopter ride. And I'm like, I could have told you this was going to happen. You were not in the right shape. You had the wrong gear and you had like a terrible plan, and like out there's no trees to take cover under. There's nothing. There's just flatness in you and whatever it's at some point it's going to rain, And so he looked in a bad way. That dad, it was just like, he felt so bad for him. It's like, you were so dumb in your planning, but at the same time, I still kind of feel bad because that would be the worst. It's like I heard different quotes for how much it would cost, but it sounds like a 5-figure a cost to pay for getting out of there. I have to check it out. Don't quote me on that. But so all that to say is, yeah, dude, I felt bad for him, but at least they were safe. But like, if you're going to do it, it's very, very doable. If you're doing the 5 miles in, very doable. Going in good shape, have a good rifle, be able to shoot out to, 250 yards, 300 yards would be, if you can do that, your money, you will, at least for what we saw, you have a really good chance at caribou. So I was saying, a lot of what we did was these caribou were crossing. We were kind of by a valley. Right. Well, it doesn't matter. I was just south of, they were doing some road work, right? It's there's Tulik River, and it was just south of Tulik River. If anybody's listening, this is way past. And it varies so much, but I'm sitting there and in that kind of, there's like kind of a valley, and these caribou were just crossing all the time. And it was funny because at first we decided to take the road and just kind of drive it and see what we see. We didn't really know what we were looking for, but we get to the spot for the first time. And all of a sudden you look and like 200-300 yards off to one side of the road, caribou are starting to come in. They're pouring over this kind of hill. It's like, holy cow, it's like ants coming over, like so many. But what they do is they would bunch up right before, like way up there, and then they would start really moving as they'd come across the highway because they knew they were going to get shot at. And they would run across the highway and then they'd go a couple hundred yards. This especially was true because if people saw them coming, all of a sudden trucks would be just lining up.
Right.
And from what I heard, it was a little unique for me that I saw so many people, but I saw a lot of people. And so this would happen and like 8 trucks would stop. People would be running out and try to like peg these things as they ran across the road. I have a video I think I posted to our story where there were 3 dudes in a line drawn back as these caribou were running in front of them. Right. So for a while, it's like, man, that's the way to do it. Look at all these caribou. We got to try this. We tried it. The problem was, first of all, there's so many guys. It just is chaos. They get pushed everywhere. You can't really play them because you can do everything right. And some idiot, which happened to me a bunch of times, would just last minute see them and like try to jump in between you and them and like get them before you did.
What the heck?
Screwed up. Oh, dude, like if anybody's listening to this, if you see even if it's just one or two caribou, because this happened to me more, and I'll talk about it in a minute. If you see a guy going after something on the side of the road and you're doing the Dalton Highway hunt, just leave it. Just keep driving, because they'll see your truck stop there, and that totally changes where they move. Right. And so it's like some courtesy. Like there was one time I lost my mind, and I'll get to it in a minute. But so anyways, we decided we're going to try to hunt these big groups coming across, and like I was within 50 yards, but they would be just moving too fast. It doesn't even look like they just look like they're trotting, but they are hauling at a trot. Like they're moving. There's just no way. So we did try that for a while. And we were going through this construction zone. The construction zone, you had to have a pilot car take you through for whatever reason. Apparently somebody died and it was a whole thing. Now they need a pilot car. But the lady that was like the gatekeeper making you wait for the pilot car was like, she was had an abrasive personality. She was hard. Like at first she yelled at us, me and Tom and Jake and Laura, like just reamed us out for no reason. So we're like, holy cow. So I got out and I kind of talked her down, and we ended up being somewhat friendly with her. We saw her a lot on the trip, but everybody I talked to, probably talked to 10, 12 people, had met her and like had a bad experience with her. Really? So we see this lady, and I'm driving through construction. I'm like, well, she said to go through. So we never stopped on construction, but what I found out is what a lot of people would do is for whatever reason, the caribou wouldn't be nervous as they would be for some reason approaching the construction zone, which was, I think 16 miles, 20 miles, somewhere in there. And so they would literally have a guy jump out of the car while it was following the pilot car, and try to shoot a caribou. And the goal was you get out, shoot a caribou, and try to get it cut up by the time the car gets to the end, and then turns around and follows the pilot car again. It wasn't exactly like the most like, I don't know. It wasn't really hunting. It was just jumping out and shooting. But the guys at camp next to us shot 5 that way in 2 days. Yeah. 5 with their bows. Wow. So anyways, we're here. We didn't know this at the time. So we're driving through, and we get north, and we're seeing less and less, but I see a bull. It's not a big bull, but it's like one I would 100% like be just stoked to shoot. So I get out, I see it, and I'm like, man, I crawl. I'm doing the whole crawl thing. It was like, at least an hour we were out there of me just crawling and stopping, crawling, stop, just making moves as this thing puts its head down. I get to 80 yards, and he's kind of looping in. He doesn't really see me, and I'll post this video. So I'm like, sweet. This summer I was money out to 180 yards is like my going in. Like if I have a clear shot, he's not moving at 80. They're caribou don't take an arrow well. They're pretty soft. Like this is like the animal and they're bigger. Like I feel really good. Like I said, been practicing all summer. We did our 3D shoot like the week before, and we were just letting them rip at 100, feeling good. So I'm out there. I'm like, all right, sweet. I get on my knees. It's like an anchored shot. I do all the things, and I shoot, and I look, and my arrow in flight is sideways. Like I see, like almost totally sideways in the air, because I've started to shoot with both eyes open, which really helps see the flight of your arrow really well. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh no. And it goes like, it misses so bad. Like it's not even close to the caribou. I'm like, what the heck just happened? So I'm like, I don't know, maybe the broadhead deployed in the air. Who knows? Cause I'm shooting expandables. Although I've never had that before with these broadheads. Well, sure enough, the caribou gets spooked, but they're curious. And he didn't know where I was or what happened. He had no idea. He runs into 60 yards and then starts eating again. I'm like, all right, calm yourself down, play it cool, Jim, draw back, do your thing, feeling good, shoot again. And that again, my arrow is sideways. Again, it's sideways, misses him completely. The caribou comes closer. This caribou is in the 40s yards, which is like I said, I had been practicing all summer. This is like a slam dunk. It's like nothing. And it's a big animal. Like, heck yeah. I don't know what's going on. I just need one to connect. You know what I mean? Like I can hit it. So I'm like talking to myself, do it again. Sure enough, arrow is sideways again. Needless to say, I actually missed 4 times. Never had that happen in my life. 4 times on a caribou. And like I said, never have I don't know that I've ever missed more than once on a hunt. I don't know that I have. And so I'm shook. like as one is in this circumstance, like never had it happen. I traveled all the way out to Alaska. What is going on? My bow in in transit at some point, I think I've determined that it was my rest had sabotaged. I think it was some vegan somewhere for sure. No, it was, I don't know what happened, but my rest got moved real bad. So when I actually got back, I tried to kind of fix it out there. And I was like, man, from this point out, it's like 30 yards and in, like maybe 40 yards. I'll take a shot. I got back, I shot it through paper, and it's like, you're supposed to have a bullet hole. If anybody knows paper tuning, you can look up the charts, but like, it's like a line, like a straight.
Like you show me the picture. It was like 4 inches.
It wasn't even, it wasn't even anything. It
was hand.
I don't know, because I did the Pelican vault case, great case. Like everything was, I cut the whole case out to fit exactly everything. My hand was in there. All my stuff was perfect, right? It was like, just, I took the utmost care with, I don't know what happened. And it's one of those Hamsky rests, which are like, they're awesome. They're awesome rests. We don't work with them or anything. I just have always used them. I love those rests. And I don't know how it happened, what happened. Something was not right. So when I came back, I spent about an hour at the shop getting that right and just getting me right. Cause like I said, at that point I was kind of shook. Like I've had struggles with target panic. And like, if you want to bring the target panic back, you have a 4 misser on Alaska on a caribou and your brain is broken for a while. I think I'm actually better off now that
Alaska panic.
Yeah. I got, I'm back on track and I'm actually feeling good. I'm switching back to a finger release and doing some things a trigger release, but that had nothing to do with the shot. That was totally something got bumped and it was a mess. So we do that hunt. We go north, we go to Prudhoe Bay, which is an oil field. It's bizarre. Like 2,000 people live there, but it's like 2 weeks on, 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off, something like that.
Okay.
It's just like a place you should go, but it's like once is enough. There's polar bears that'll live there, grizzlies, all whatever. There's the week before, actually while I was there, but I was south, there's a video I had posted to our story of this grizzly chasing the guy up on his I think it was a digger, whatever machine he had. I didn't even remember what he was on. And so, yeah, you go up there. We took the tour. We went to the Arctic Ocean, put our feet in the water, did the whole thing. It was really cool. What was cool about this hunt, though, is like we did get to do those kind of things. But as I'm stalking, they would drop me off and they'd take the truck down the way. So like nothing would, the caribou wouldn't see the truck still there. And then they just glass and watch me the whole time. So it was like
interesting.
Every time they just watch, which is cool. So we did that. We started coming down and I think I had 6 more chances where I had actually figured out how to crawl up and get where they're going. And like I said, I was so shook about my range and something wasn't right with my bow. I had tried to like cobble together something where I was able to, I started shooting a little bit and I'm like accurate out to 40 yards. That's going to be my thing. Mm-hmm. I had, I think 6 total times from when I missed to the end of the trip where I had shots at caribou that I would see one, which I found way easier to stalk on one rather than a whole bunch off the road. We'd be driving, you see one, like a nice bull, they keep driving and you start just like it's a combination of sprinting, crawling, crawling through like knee deep water. It's just like crazy stuff to try to like get around to where these caribou are going. Super like be in good shape if you're doing this. Cause like, not only is the tundra hard to walk on, but like stalking is not easy, especially when you're wet and you're just like crawling over lumps and it was good. But I had 6 times where I was going to be within 40 or so yards of a caribou and some other person would be driving by, see me out there and would stop the truck and get out and just like, look, like stand outside their car. They'd be right on the road and just looking at me. And this is one of the times where I like lost it because you have to look up if no one is familiar with caribou, like what a 350-inch bull, like that category of bull looks like, but it's a good caribou. It's a big one. Mm-hmm. And so at least for me, right, being from Michigan, I had this one that was, he was coming in and I see this guy just get out and I'm like doing, like, I'm behind like this rock and he's coming and I'm like waving the guy, like keep going, like putting my arms out, like, what the heck? He just stands there and he's like looking at me, and he's looking at it. And of course the caribou's coming, and he stops right where the caribou's walking. And so the caribou sees it, and he just cuts off. And, within 2 seconds, that caribou is 100 yards out of my sight range. Like, he's away from me. So I lost it. I'm like cussing up a storm, like throwing stuff. Just, I'm so mad at that point. Lost my mind. But now all that to say is, like, if you're out there and you see someone doing that, it would be so cool to be able to watch someone do it. But like, most of the time you put that caribou on edge. When they see, like, they're fine with a car driving by, but if it stops, they're pretty alert to it.
Right.
So anyways, yeah, I had that happen a bunch. It was a series of unfortunate events, but actually, so I didn't get a caribou, which is funny because you saw it for a while. I did, because I shipped the antlers back.
I saw the pictures of those horns, and I'm like, dude, this dude got a caribou, and he's not even going to tell me the story of it.
If I got a caribou, I would have done the in-reach message that day. You would be the first to know. I would beat Jared Bull down. Suck it, James. That's
I thought you were pulling a quick one on me, but
I should have, but no, I did not. No, we didn't see them. We saw, dozens of muskox and eagles and all the things. We saw a couple grizzly bears, tons of moose. And looking back at what happened was, I had just stumbled upon like a really hot area where they had seen more caribou there than they had. Some of these guys had been doing it for 20 years, had never seen so many come through this certain spot. So I definitely hit it right. But like, going back, because I saw so many people, and maybe it's just getting more popular because it's all over the forums. People talk about it a lot. There's that hunting, that video Huntwise did with Joe that was actually fairly popular. I think people just got kind of turned on to it. And so if I would 100% go back, and Jared and you and I have been talking about doing it, but I would take a rifle out. I would go 5 miles in. I would shoot a caribou as quickly as I can, go back, and I'd fish grayling the rest of the time, char and grayling,
Mm-hmm.
But all that to say, it was like, you go to the tundra is like another planet. It's just not unlike anything you've ever seen. There were times where I'd go out alone and you go where you can't see civilization. There's only one road and a pipeline. That's all you can see. Like, so if you go one way, you can't see anything. You just see tundra. And you look around, it's like nothing's changed in a long, long time. There's no trees. There's no growth. There's like not actually that much life out here other than caribou coming through, some birds. We saw a fox and stuff. And it's just kind of quiet. It's just like kind of it's beautiful, but depressing, but awesome. It's melancholy. Melancholic was the word that I've come up to describe like the surreal loneliness and awesomeness of the Alaskan tundra. Mm-hmm. There's just no, it's worth doing. People should do it regardless if they're hunting or just visiting with family. It was great. Very affordable. We ended up spending more just because we got this kind of truck. I was paying for, some of the plane tickets were really expensive. Mine were really cheap. Gas was really expensive. So there's, food's more expensive now than typical, and we treated ourselves a little bit, but, I was with my wife and daughter, but like, it's pretty doable, pretty affordable. And like I said, you do the rifle hunt, you get off the grid a little bit, you go in prepared with a good plan, with good gear, with being in good shape, and you'll be fine. I think the biggest problem, if when we do it, Jared, granted, maybe we get out there, we don't see any caribou, but I think the big problem would be like, and this is what I was thinking the whole time, like if I were to go out here with like 3 people and we all got a caribou and we were 5 miles in, that would suck. That would be a couple trips, in a couple days of making trips, dealing with, who knows what. One area we had been hunting, I met a guy who was out grizzly hunting. Because there's grizz in the area, like one of the valleys, Happy Valley, he had seen 17 grizzly bears in this valley. It's like so you're dealing with a lot as you're doing it. But like in terms of like a first Alaska trip, a first outside the continental US trip, that it was very doable, fairly inexpensive. Tags were, I think, like $650. Jake got a week-long fishing trip license, which was like, I want to say like $60 bucks. Mm-hmm. And my daughter, since she's under 16, could fish for free. So they did quite a bit of that. And like, it was just awesome. It was something that you can take your family to. It was consensus, like this was our best trip ever. All the places we've camped. my daughter, who doesn't really like to travel on her birthday, like she likes to be home, and she was born the day after my birthday, which is kind of cool. And she was like, Dad, this is the best birthday I've ever had. And mind you, this was the day after I had missed 4 times and then lost my mind. And the guy that had blown like a hunt of mine, like, and she loved it. Like, and she spent the whole week sleeping in the cab of a truck. Her and Laura were short enough to sleep along the bench seats.
Really?
Yeah. Well, so we had all the tents and we could have done it, but what made it nice was that we could do that because like it rains. And so your stuff's always wet. And like, it is kind of handy to just be like, well, I'm just hopping in the truck and sleeping tonight. Like you put your inflatable mattress down and it works pretty well. Jake and I slept in the bed. And we were in everything from warmer weather to like one day it like poured rain and then it just dropped down to 20 degrees. And like you wake up and there's like a quarter inch of ice on everything. Like it was so cold, so it worked out really well. Cruised back, did the whole thing, and like sprayed off the inch of dirt mud that was caked to my tree. It took me forever. I cleaned it for maybe half an hour just before I took it to a car cleaning place that like did trucks and did it and stuff. So then it took him. He's like, wow, I've never seen so much mud on the truck, and it was literally after I had put half an hour into cleaning it already. So it was awesome. Met a lot of people. I spent so much time in the beds of other people's trucks getting rides down the road, because I would go out and I'd like pop out way down the road, like 3 miles, and I'd be seeing people be by, and I'd just be like, hey, wave them down. I hop in their truck and they drive me back. So we had a good time. Lots of people. And so like, I would say anybody listening, do this hunt. Caribou are awesome. Like everything has antlers. Like how much more fun can you have? Everything you see is antlers. You see them a lot. At least I did. You're in the tundra. You see look up a baby muskox. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen. They're ridiculous. And we see these baby muskox and like regular muskox that look like bears from a distance. You see so much. There were wolves hunting caribou by us. Had eagles when we were down south living above our tree. It was just, we saw humpback whales and otter. These otters there are like they're huge. They're like 3 feet. They're huge otters, like not like the river otters that we have. So highly recommend it. One of my best trips, even though I didn't get anything. Everybody's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, there's nothing to be sorry for. This was awesome. I would do it again, even if I didn't shoot anything, The bow part was a problem, but like I said, I came back. I went to the shop actually out here by me in Lowell, Backwood Trading Post. Good dude. He was just close by and open, and he's been super helpful. Got my bow and me set back up because I was having issues after that, if you can imagine. Right. So now we have only a couple weeks till I'm taking Dee out for youth hunt this year. Her first youth hunt.
Sweet.
The first night I'm actually going to take her where I saw a big old buck last year, but since opening day is on a Saturday this year, and I know that spot's going to get hammered, I'm just taking her right in and just hoping I can pick one of these bucks coming off. And then we've got small game opener on the 15th, and which I'm going to be up northern Michigan for, probably do some squirrel hunting up there. And then we have opening day, and Jared, sounds like you and I might be headed south for, spending Michigan opener south of the Michigan border.
Yeah, man, this should be a fun trip if I can connect all the dots together.
Connect all the dots. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up. We had a lot. We'll be doing this Dalton Highway hunt. Probably, I don't know about next year, but for sure in the next 2 years. So yeah, like I wanted to share. There's a lot of podcasts out there with good information. I listened to them all getting ready for this trip, and there's a lot of good stuff. But like looking back on it, part of it's like I said, the first couple of days, just like going at a caribou and like learn their parameters, like learn what stalking's like on the tundra. And if you have any questions, just let us know. I've had a lot of questions coming on like rock slide and stuff, and messaging guys there. Had a few guys that I knew that were going to the Dalton hunt that I had never met before. I've been texting with those guys as well, but like it is helpful to share information, and like because they cross at so many different spots, I'm not really worried about blowing somebody's secret spot up because they just go everywhere. And it's like hundreds of miles long this road is. So it didn't feel right that you weren't there, Jared. I was lonely.
It is what it is.
But next time you just stop pumping out so many kids. And Jared loves himself so much that he made he's in the process of the fourth one. He just keeps like thinking the world needs more him.
Need more
cowbell.
My clan. Trying to grow the clan.
You almost have a starting lineup in basketball.
Yes.
So, and they're all oldest is in kindergarten.
We got a starting lineup.
You have 4.
You have 5.
Well, not you don't count.
Oh,
I'm saying kids.
You're talking the kids.
Yeah, you want to ride their success and like have them pay
family.
for your retirement. Yeah.
That's fair. All right.
So no, that was it. Yeah, like I said, if anybody has questions or whatever, let me know. I learned a lot of things the hard way. I was really prepared for a lot of things. I had some friends that did it first. Like my gear was pretty dialed. It was really dialed other than the bow issue. I wouldn't change too much about what I did, like in terms of what I brought or a lot of conditioning. I did a lot of that Mountain Tough. We had Dustin on a couple months ago, but I mean, I've been working out a lot, just preparing for being able to not only walk in the tundra, but like stalking. Stalking is taxing. Like you have to have a lot of body weight strength. And so, yeah, I wouldn't change much except for the bow mishap. So
nice.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
But onward and upward, we got a lot of fun stuff to do. We got some really good stuff planned for this fall. Really exciting stuff. We're excited to share with you. Anything else we should say or announce or do before we wrap this thing up, Jared? It's good to be back. We haven't podcasted in like a month.
Really?
Yeah, it was the end of July, I think, because I left. Yeah.
Breaks feel good.
Break. We needed it. We needed a little summer break before we dive into the deer that we've been getting trail camera pictures of.
Heck yeah, man.
I named the big one Jared. I decided it's Jared.
You gonna shoot me?
Jared Scott Gortzma.
Scott Cousins? Oh,
no, Mark. Jared Mark Gortzma. I mean, Scott. Tyler Scott Greenway. You're Jared Mark Gortzma. It's got him confused. JMG.
Middle names after my uncle.
That'd be weird. Yeah. Scooter, it should be. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening in. This was a little bit more low key. And like I said, if you have questions, I'm happy to share whatever I know. I can't say I'm by any means an expert, but I did do it once. So I do have that. And yeah, Jared, anything you want to tell the world?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, follow along. We got some great guests coming up. I'm excited to share some things with you here in the next couple months, and let us know if you have any questions. Thanks.